welcome to another edition of Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Sonny, and I'm coming up on the show. We are going to talk about something that is built upon our last conversation. The last conversation we had, we talked about building from within our moral character, or our good moral character, because I believe you can have a moral character without it really being good. But anyways, you can go listen to that episode if you want to know more about that. That was episode 225, Built from Within, the foundation for good moral character. And so today we're going to talk about something a little different that builds upon that, but it's about becoming a better person for yourself. What can we do to make ourselves better? And what that definition is of better, I guess it depends upon you. Obviously, it's to improve upon a condition, whether it's improve upon physical fitness, improve upon performance, improve upon health. Improve, I guess, is the key. So improving upon ourselves would look differently depending upon how we see ourselves. Now, when you go back to building character, the first thing you think of are things such as, keeping your word, being honest, being thankful. We want to practice gratitude in everything we do. We want to obviously tell the truth. I think telling the truth, honesty, keeping our word is kind of all the same thing. But if we say we're going to be someplace, we should probably be there, not come up with an excuse not to be there. Obviously, we should tell the truth when it comes to honesty. When we help people, kindness, random acts of kindness, not expecting anything in return. I think also when it comes to building character, when we face discomfort, outside of our comfort zone is an important thing to experience and to kind of get used to. Reflect upon things that we have done. We want to obviously stay disciplined in our beliefs, our ideology, what we set forth for ourselves. When it comes to telling the truth, when it comes to keeping our word, obviously the opposite of that is to apologize when things don't go our way or when we do wrong to others. Obviously we want to listen and then, of course, keep those acts of kindness going. So that's kind of what we talked about in a nutshell. Or if you want to say just kind of cliff notes of what building character can be about. But what if you want to be a better person for yourself? And that could be also translated to you want to become a better person so that you're a better person for other people. You're a better person for your job, for the environment, the neighborhood, the community, and so on. But when you take a look at some of these things, when it comes to being better, there are a few categories to talk about. One would be our daily habits. What daily habits could we do to help better our character, which would better ourselves? But talking about it from a perspective of daily habits, what about our mindset? What could we do to change our mindset? And how can we better our relationships? And then, of course, that discomfort. What does that mean? What's that actually like? We'll get to that too. But when you start off with daily habits, what are your daily habits? Do you have any? Do you get up in the morning when the alarm clock goes off? Are you one to jump right out of bed and get going with your day, or do you hit the snooze button about 80 times? When you get up, what do you do? Do you make your bed? Do you hit the showers? Do you go get something to eat, get that cup of coffee? How do you set your morning routine? Well, one of the first things that is, interestingly enough, has come up time and time again when you look at your morning routine or just daily routines that can lead to success. It's the simplest of things. Now, I'm one that doesn't make my bed. I just don't want to. However, there is some research, I guess you could say, or some belief in the fact that making your bed when you wake up in the morning and start your daily habits, your morning routine with making your bed, that's where the discipline starts for your day. That's where your little bit of success starts for the day. Because if you get up and you make your bed, apparently that's your first victory of the day. And no matter what happens the rest of the day, you can come home and know when you see that bed made, it is an actual visual of success that you had. And it's the foundation, I guess, for building daily habits that can build character. And if you don't believe me, how about listening to an admiral talk about the importance of making your bed?
To me, basic SEAL training was a lifetime of challenges crammed into 6 months. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
Seems interesting that the military would have a foundation of waking up in the morning and making your bed. Not only making your bed, but making it to perfection. There was the old adage where you could drop a quarter and it bounce off the bed. Then the bed was made. You had the squared off corners, the extra blanket at the foot of the bed. Discipline. And it starts with the basics, the fundamentals, the little bit. So maybe bed making isn't your thing. Like I said, I don't make my bed. I might throw the blanket over it, so it looks quasi-made if I get that far, but I'm not really into bed making. I have other things for me that I like to do that get my routines going, but I have a preparation that I do that will, fits into kind of what this is going on. But let's say you start off making your bed because discipline starts simple. Discipline could be getting up in the morning at a certain time instead of hitting the snooze button over and over and over again. Maybe you get up in the morning when the alarm clock goes off. I like to actually hit snooze once because the first one wakes me up. And then you have about 8 to 10 minutes, depending upon the snooze, to kind of, get yourself awake. And I like to take deep breaths in the morning, kind of get the oxygen flowing, kind of get a little bit loose while I'm kind of waking up from the grogginess of a sleep. And so I have my routine that I like to do. But maybe I should incorporate making my bed. The other thing that you could do is have 1 to 3 intentions for the day. Maybe focus on something like patience. I'm driving to work. Maybe my routine includes getting out of the house early enough so that I don't have to be impatient at the stoplights or on the freeway or the interstate or wherever you go to work. But if I do, and there's traffic and other things in my way, maybe I'm going to have patience. Maybe I'm going to show that kindness that we always talk about. Or maybe I have some courage to do something, speak out against something that's not right, or maybe have the courage to make recommendations for something. So you start off by making your bed. Maybe you set out with 1 to 3 intentions for the day. Maybe you do a workout at some point. And then maybe at some point you read. Some people like to get up early enough where they do make their bed, and perhaps if they're religious, they might have a devotion or maybe morning prayers or something like that. And then they take their shower, they have their coffee, and they get ready for work. But again, it could be little things that start your day off on the right foot, the first step. So that way the rest of the day kind of falls into place. And then perhaps during the day, we got a lot going on, right? We're running around at work. Maybe we're thinking about lunch. Then we got to do the stuff after work and everything that comes along with, the early evening hours of getting home, fighting traffic. A lot of things to do, right? But maybe during the day, you think of something like procrastination. Maybe we push things off. Maybe we don't get things done today because, we could do it tomorrow. Abe Lincoln had a saying, said, why put off for tomorrow what you can get done today? And then, of course, I think there was a Mel Gibson movie. I think it was Maverick, something like that said, why do today what you can do tomorrow? But one weakens character while one gains character. So actions build upon actions. So instead of procrastinating, maybe we get up and we do something that we don't want to do during the day. Obviously, we want to speak kindly, even when it's hard, because character will shine most under pressure. That's when character really stands out. It's easy to do the good thing when times are good, but it's hard to do the good thing when times are bad. So character shines most under pressure. So maybe during the day, we're going to speak kindly. Maybe there's a coworker that we don't like or doesn't like us, or we don't get along. There's friction, but maybe you share a kind word instead of just ignoring them. Maybe we own up to our mistakes. Maybe that's part of our daily routine. Hopefully we minimize those mistakes and we aren't making many, but when we do, we own up to them. And then maybe we help someone. And as we go through this, even if you go back and listen to our last episode together, episode 225, building that character, that good moral character, a lot of the stuff kind of relates because you're going to help people. Kindness always comes up. Honesty always comes up. Those are some things that need to be active in our lives if we want to have good character, if we want to be a good person. You have to have honesty and you have to have the ability to help other people. And then the other third thing really is own your mistakes. But let's say you get up in the morning, you make your bed, and you set your 1 to 3 intentions for the day, something that you're going to purposefully do. Maybe that purpose is to speak kindly to that coworker that you don't like or you don't get along with, or to that homeless person that is outside the mini mart as you rush to get your cup of coffee, or outside of Starbucks or Scooters, wherever you get your coffee. And maybe you say a kind word to them. Don't have to give them money, but you say a kind word. Have a nice day. So maybe that's one of your intentions. Maybe you're reading something. Maybe you haven't. Maybe that comes later in the day. And then as the day goes on, you're not procrastinating. You're getting that one thing. Just start with one thing. You've been putting off that report. You've been putting off those records that you have to input for education, grades, or something like that. Putting off that meeting. And so you start to think about, okay, I'm going to establish that meeting. When's that meeting going to take place? And so you set a date and time. You get everybody together to have that meeting. Speaking kindly, owning your mistakes. Maybe you're helping someone. Maybe that is one of 3 intentions of the day. I'm going to speak kindly to someone and I'm going to help someone. There you've got 2. So you get up, you made your bed, you're going to speak kindly, you're going to help someone. That's 3 successes right there that you can do. And you can get them done pretty quickly. A kind word to somebody. Opening the door for somebody. Helping them. Doesn't have to be big. Remember we talked about random acts of kindness, but it could be simple things. A compliment. Maybe a favor. Maybe saying thank you. Maybe that's one of your 1 of 3 intentions. Saying you're welcome, thank you, please in your comments. A part of speaking kindly, right? And then in the evening, maybe that's when you reflect on the day. What did I do today? Did I complete my 1 of 3 intentions? Can I improve upon it tomorrow? Did I only get 1 of them done? Did I only get 2 of them done? Can I improve? What things were I thankful for today? Maybe name 1 to 3. Maybe you start out with 1 intention in the morning and 1 thought of gratitude at night. And then you prepare for tomorrow. Lay out your clothes, plan priorities. Basically, I guess it comes down to showing respect to the future, if you really think about it. I like to lay out my clothes. That might sound ridiculous, but I do. And if I had the ability or the space or something, I would do it for the entire week. This is when we're Monday, this is when we're Tuesday, this is when we're Wednesday, this is when we're Thursday, and this is when we're Friday. when I go to work, this is what I want to do. I have it kind of planned out in my brain, but I don't have the clothes actually laid out. But the night before I will. Intent on when I get up in the morning, I hit the snooze once, get up after that, start getting ready, get dressed, do my routine. And then during that routine, perhaps we start setting our intentions for the day. Maybe you limit your shower. I like to try to get out of the house at a certain time. Now, that certain time isn't necessarily based upon how long it takes me to get to work and stuff like that. It's just I want to get out of the house at a certain time so I have plenty of time to get to work, so that when I get there, I'm in the classroom, I'm ready to go ahead of time. And when the students walk in, we're good to go. But I like to be intentional about it. When I get behind, it becomes a little bit irritating because then some of the other things start to fall. I start to get a little bit impatient. Maybe I start to get a little bit unkind behind the wheel, although I take driving very serious. Maybe I'm not saying the hello to the people as I walk in as I should because I'm focused on getting to class because I'm running a few minutes behind my schedule. Maybe I'm not helping that person by opening the door when they've got a backpack full of books and a handful of papers as they're trying to rush to their classroom. So again, having purpose, having intent, having routine can be very beneficial in helping make us a better person. And then whether we reflect on that in journaling or just mentally or just thinking about it, however you want to do it, and you're preparing for tomorrow. But then maybe somewhere in there, you're really starting to maybe take on reading. Maybe a part of that is taking away of social media, detoxing digitally. Maybe that's a part of making us a better person, giving our brain room to breathe. And so maybe we start small. Maybe we're going to take a few minutes at night and put away the phone, have a home for the phone. I'm going to put it in this specific place. Maybe it's close the door or the drawer or whatever it is so that there's actual separation between you and the phone, not just setting it down on the table where you can easily grab it or easily reach for it when you get that notification bing, right? So, or maybe turn off notifications for that matter. Maybe you only have the important ones. Maybe you decide that I'm only going to spend a few minutes on this app. Maybe social media. Maybe you spend a few minutes a day when you get home at night and you want to scroll through and catch up on what your friends and family are doing through social media. Because after all, that is how a lot of us keep in touch, right? Or keep in touch with what others are doing. We may not communicate, but we'll see through social media what we're doing on, what's going on. Maybe we schedule a period of time where we're going to go without social media, maybe the weekend or maybe Monday. But again, it's time to maybe detox from social media or from the digital world. Maybe you get a phone or maybe an alarm clock or a clock without your phone. And you put your phone away in the drawer or whatever, and you just have your alarm clock wake you up. And so that way, when you're laying down, you're not bothered by the phones and the bings and everything that goes on with it. But we take our time to detox. Maybe that helps us. Digitally detoxing makes us a better person as well. And maybe we replace it with reading. I know a lot of people do like to read. I'm one that doesn't read a whole lot, but maybe I should pick up a book more. I like to actually do more research because, of course, I do the podcast and stuff, but I like to do research. So I'm reading, but I'm actually reading on my phone or on a computer, on a screen, basically is what it comes down to. And so if I wanted to limit my screen time, I'd have to come up with like a book or something to read, right? But again, what can reading do for us? Well, it has many powerful benefits if you think about it. Intellectually, emotionally, even physically, our brain. Remember, give our brain a chance to breathe if we detox from the digital world. Reading can promote mental stimulation, keeps our brain active. When you scroll, it becomes a mind-numbing thing, right? We're scrolling, and now it's a mind-numbing thing 4 hours later, and what do we get out of it? Probably nothing. But when we read, our mind is active, our imagination, the theater of the mind is going. The muscle of the brain is working, getting stronger. We acquire knowledge depending upon what we read. Maybe we're reading something that is educational, like we're learning something about it, like maybe a biography or an autobiography or something like that. Or maybe just reading for fun, some fictional book, right? But there's words, phrases, ideas, concepts that we can learn. So we're acquiring knowledge. Our understanding of the world can improve. Our vocabulary expansion. We learn new words. Maybe if depending upon what we read, right? One of the things that when people want to know, so when I teach and people ask me, how can I improve my reading comprehension? One of the things that most people will tell you, the experts, will be improve vocabulary. Well, nobody really wants to sit and read the dictionary. Although I think it was first grade, the kid that sat next to me in our free time, he would actually read the dictionary. But one of the things you're going to do is read. The more you read, the more vocabulary you're exposed to, especially if you're reading from different eras, like the copyright, the 1950s. You read something from the 1950s or the 1980s, or maybe literature from the 1800s, whatever. You're going to get different vocabulary. And so you're going to improve language skills, improve communication skills. When we read, we focus and we have to concentrate because we have to understand what we're reading. When we watch a movie, sometimes we can just kind of fade out and be like, oh, what happened? I got to rewind, right? Maybe we doze off or something like that. But when we read, we have to stay focused. We have to stay concentrated. Reading can also improve our memory, give us stronger analytical thinking skills. It's a stress reduction. And we can get better writing skills. The other thing, too, is it's entertaining. If you've ever sat down to read a good book, you'll know that it's quite entertaining. So again, we start off our day with our daily routines because we want to get better at what we do. And so we're doing our daily habits to build character. And so maybe we start off with those daily routines of getting up in the morning, getting our 1 to 3 intentional things that we want to do. We want to go throughout our day and not procrastinate. We want to say a kind word. We want to help others. We come home at night. We reflect on the day. And then maybe at some point we digital detox. And then from there, maybe we're going to read. And so as we go through the day, we're starting to get better and better and better. And we're starting to become a better person because of our daily habits. Because as you know, each of us, we have greatness within us.
You have greatness within you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. See, I believe that anybody through observation and practice can perform at the level of excellence. But when you're pursuing your greatness, this is worth writing down. You don't know what your limits are, and you act like you don't have any. So I say to you, you have something special. You have greatness within you.
And so we start to become a better person, and that inner greatness starts to come out. But beyond our daily habits that build character, maybe there's some other things that we can do, like have our mindset shift. Maybe we shift our mindset from something that is negative to positive. I guess in the world of academia or therapy, counseling, they call it growth mindset, psychology. Believing that your abilities can grow through effort. Instead of saying, I'm not good at this, maybe we say, I'm not good at this yet. Perhaps. Instead of saying, I failed, I learned something new. I learned a new way how not to do something. Because remember, you could fail 99 times, but that 100th time you might be successful. And again, if you want to use a baseball analogy, 7 out of 10 times you get out in baseball, you bat 7 out of 10 times you get out, you're an all-star. Because you got 3 hits, you're hitting 300. Maybe nowadays with technology and bats, it's 3.5, I don't know. Things are so crazy now with the technology and the sports science behind baseball. So maybe it's a little bit more. But again, basically, 3 out of 10 times you get a hit, you're an all-star. This is too hard. I hear that a lot, even from adults. This is too hard. Or maybe I'm going to change it to challenges help me grow. Because they do. And we learn more in failure than we do success. Because when you repeat success, you repeat, but are you getting any better? Possibly. But once you fail, you're like, ooh, there's a weak link here. I need to fix this. And now you get better than what you were. I give up. Well, maybe instead of saying I give up, I'll try a different strategy. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over, trying to and expecting a different result, right? So maybe try a different strategy. I'm not smart enough. Instead of saying I'm not smart enough, I get better, or I will get better with effort and time. So we go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So how can we do that? How can we build that growth mindset? How can we go from I can't do this to maybe I can? How can I believe that my abilities are going to grow through effort, learning, and perseverance? Well, the first thing you can do is notice your thoughts. Catch yourself when you're thinking negatively. Ask yourself, is this a fixed mindset? Because if you notice your thoughts and you catch them, because that's the first thing you have to do, right? Recognize what it is that you're doing. Recognize your thoughts. Are they negative? I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Well, I can't, I don't want to, two different things. I don't want to. Now you're going back to procrastination. And so if we set our procrastination and we have our intention from our daily habits that build character, our daily habits that make us a good person, we go from I don't want to, I can't to I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. And so you can see how this all kind of comes together, right? It's not a separate entity, separate columns. It all kind of intertwines. So you notice your thoughts. And then from there, maybe you change your self-talk. Focus on progress. Focus on effort. I'll keep trying until I figure it out. I want to keep trying until we figure it out. We're going to make mistakes as we go along, but we're going to try. We're going to try. Put our effort in. When we make mistakes and we learn from it, or I put it this way, if we make mistakes, but then we correct those mistakes, now we're learning. So you make a mistake, but you correct it, now you are learning. And now you're growing, and now your growth mindset steps in. You can also ask yourself, what is this teaching? One of our intentions might have been patience, right? One of our 1, 2, 3 intentions in the day from our morning routine might be patience. But what is this teaching me? Maybe this thing is teaching me patience. Maybe this thing is teaching me how to think outside the box. Maybe this thing is teaching me that I'm not really vested in this like I should be. Maybe I'm not taking my class serious. That's why I'm only getting C's. Maybe I'm not taking my intentions serious. That's why I'm always late to work, racing to get there. So what is this teaching me? Maybe we need to go out and seek challenges. Maybe we need to step outside our comfort zone. Try something new, try something different. Experience other things. Live in that stretch zone. We're going to stretch our mentality. We're going to stretch our capabilities. We're going to stretch what we know. We're going to stretch our comfort level. Also, having a growth mindset means that we're going to value effort over talent. Sure, we want to be talented. In athletics, obviously, you have to be talented. Effort comes in second place to talent. You can have a lot of talent, and someone with less talent can put in all the effort in the world and never overcome the person that's talented, right? No matter how fast I run, no matter how much I practice, no matter what I do, I will never beat Usain Bolt or a number of people in a race. Obviously, that's an exaggerated scenario, but I can only do so much with my abilities, right? However, personally, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about our personal, how we get better as a person, not compared to other people, but compared to myself. So I can say, well, I'm going to try to beat Usain Bolt. And so I'm going to keep practicing, keep working out. Or I'm going to try to, whatever your standard is, I'm going to try to get there. Even though I might not get there, I'm still going to try to get there because my effort is taking me higher and higher and higher. Now, those talented people like the Kobe Bryants and stuff Kobe didn't just stay with his talent. He put in his effort and he got better and better and better. Michael Jordan, all the greats put in the effort, and they even accelerate higher in their talent because of their efforts. But when we're talking about us, we might not achieve that elite athleticism like some of these people, but we're working hard. We're not just relying on the natural ability. Practicing builds strength. We're thinking about what we're doing, having intent, having purpose. Maybe we're writing it down. And we're focusing on progress, not perfection. The old saying, practice makes perfect, right? I had a basketball coach that said, no, practice makes permanent. Perfect practice makes perfect. Because if you do something over and over and over again, it's going to become permanent, like a habit. But if you do it perfectly, then when you practice perfect, you play perfect. Now, we might not be able to reach perfection. It's okay to strive for that. We might not be able to reach it. However, if we're working hard, effort, we might get there. So as we are having a growth mindset and we're noticing our thoughts, we're changing our self-talk, being more positive, we're embracing those mistakes, we're seeking new challenges, we're valuing our efforts. We also have to be kind to ourselves. It takes time to grow. Let's celebrate the small wins. Let's keep going. Build upon those small wins. A little win, a little win, a little win. Next thing you know, you got a pretty big win. You start off, let's say, with making your bed. From making your bed, you get out of the house on time. Get out of the house on time to saying a kind word. From saying a kind word to an act of kindness. But maybe you start with that one thing. Or maybe you start with a kind word and then an act of kindness. Whatever it is that you plan out for yourself. Read a small book. Don't go diving into War and Peace. Read something that's interesting to you. You have to set the schedule. You have to set the logistics. But if you incorporate some of these things, you'll start to see you become a better person. Another area that's important is to build better personal relationships. So we're trying to get better, right? So we're improving ourselves by building daily habits that help our character, such as the morning routines, the gratitude, the digital detox, reading perhaps. We've changed our mindset to more of a positive. We've gone from that victim mindset to the creator mindset. We're gonna be positive. We're going to chase perfection, but if we don't get it, that's okay. Have realistic expectations too. But one of the other things is, relationships. If we can better personal relationships, we better ourselves. And we're talking about our effort in that relationship building. And it might take time. It might take effort, commitment. But we're going to communicate openly and honestly. Whether this is a work relationship, whether it's a personal relationship, social, whatever it is. A business, from business to business. Maybe you're going to share your thoughts and feelings. Be open about it. You're going to be clear and respectful in your communications so that you prevent misunderstanding. But when you get to more of that personal relationship, or when I mean personal relationship, I mean people to people. Whether it's people to people in business, in friendships, whatever. People to people, it does take time where you have to make time for each other, right? And it's that quality time over quantity. Sure, we can see each other 5 minutes every day. That's great. Or you have that long lost best friend that you don't see for maybe years on end, a couple years at a time, because they live in another part of the world. But when you get together, it's like you never split up, right? It's like you pick up right where you left off. So it's that quality over quantity. Not just how much time you spend together, but what are you doing when you spend that time together? How meaningful is it? We get together at the holidays. Maybe we see each other once or twice a year, but it's meaningful. How many times do you see your coworkers every day and it's not so meaningful because it's just a surface level thing? Maybe you go to baseball games together, or maybe you go to musicals. You do things like that, activities that you have in common. And you grow in those areas, kind of like a hobby or something, right? And because of that, you have deep conversations with each other, talking about that or whatever else goes on. Maybe you go to dinner beforehand or after. But you're not just hanging out. You're being purposeful. You're being intent with that relationship, making it important in your life, showing others that they are important to you by having quality time hanging out, not just let's go grab coffee for 5 minutes. I got to go by, but being intent, making time for each other, hanging out with more than just, hey, let's just chill. Let's do something. Let's spend time together. Let's invest time into each other. Maybe we have to be supportive and encouraging, celebrate their successes. Don't always make it about you. Be genuinely happy for their achievements and what they've accomplished and what they've done. Offering praise and encouragement to keep going. Maybe sharing with them some of the things that you see them doing that are good. So you're supporting them. You're there during tough times. It's easy to say, yeah, I'm going to be there, but are you? Are you going to be there to support them? Or are you going to have excuses like I have to work or other things like that? Hard call to make, but maybe it's a tough decision that you have to do. But if you want to have a better relationship because you want to be a better person for your friend or for that coworker, I can't tell you how many countless times a coworker would call and say, hey, can you cover for me? Working at a radio station. Hey, I'm coming in late. Can you stay over? Or the person calls out and the boss calls and says, hey, can you work an extra 4 hours until so-and-so comes in? And they're going to come in 4 hours early to cover that 8-hour shift, right? Split 4 and 4. Sometimes we have to, but maybe because we want to be the better person, we do it. And maybe we do it not because the boss asked us to do it, but because we respect and we have a good working friendship with the person that called out. But we're making time. We're being supportive. We're being encouraging, offering practical help, showing them that, hey, you matter. And of course, you have to have healthy boundaries because without the boundaries, it gets crazy, right? So know your limits. Now, I can't do anything tonight because I'm not available. But let's do something another time. So you have to have your boundaries and be clear about them. We've gone out a couple times this week, so I just need some time for myself, get some stuff done. Communicate those boundaries. Hey, I'm available this time, this time, this time. Call me at this time, this time, this time. Have some boundaries set up that they know. Like I know people I don't call late at night after 9 o'clock because I just know that that's not the right time. Or not text them or send them messages. Or if it's after a certain time, maybe if I need to tell them something and I don't want to forget about it, maybe then I will send them an email because I don't expect emails to be answered promptly. I mean, right away, promptly. Yeah, it's not right away. Like text messages, you kind of have a expectation of more immediacy in the response, right? But with emails, it's like, okay, it might take a couple days, but you let them know. If there's a disagreement, this is a big thing. If there's a disagreement, stay calm and listen. How many friendships have we lost over the last number of years because of the craziness of this country? But we listen to their side of the story. We wait till they're done talking, and then we share our side. We try to come to common ground. We don't just let crazy ideology break us up. We find common ground. We focus on a solution, maybe look for compromise. I've got people that if I'm going to hang out with them, we're not talking politics. We're not talking religion. There's other people that I completely disagree with in both politics and religion. We'll talk all day long. It's a stimulating conversation. There's a lot of people that we have different religious beliefs, not that we disagree, but I believe a certain way. They believe a certain way. And we'll have communication about their beliefs, my beliefs all the time. We share each other's beliefs. Am I going to adapt their beliefs? Probably not. Are they going to adapt mine? Probably not. But who knows? You never know. But are there things that I can pick out from what they say that might help me make me a better person? Possibly. Or if there's other people over here that I eventually meet that have the same religious beliefs, will I have a better understanding of what these people or this person is about? Absolutely. So it's okay. It's okay to have conversation. It's okay to have conversation with other people that believe something different than us because it's going to help us in the long run. One, we might learn something. 2, we're practicing understanding. We're practicing some of this stuff. We're practicing listening. We're practicing understanding. We're practicing empathy. We're practicing all these things and not just making judgment, because it might help us down the road someplace else. Plus, if they're your friend, that should be prefaced over everything, right? We're friends and you're friends for a reason. Why are you allowing some ideology or some recent thing break you up? I guess the final thing too would be reliable, be consistent, follow through on your promises. Say you'll do something and then do it. And then the toughest thing is show up when it counts. A lot of times when it's hard to be there for someone because of distance or because of time, or maybe you don't understand what they're going through. So it's not as important to you. But maybe we have to rethink and become more intentional and go back to those daily habits. But instead of having daily habits to make us and build our character, we have those kind of daily habits in friendships. These are my priorities when it comes to friendships in generality. Be there for them. Listen. Invest time. You have your list laid out. And then ultimately, the final 2 things I would say is this. Obviously, show appreciation. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for the times we spent together. Show appreciation and gratitude that you guys are friends. But then ultimately, have fun. When was the last time you went out and had fun with your people, your friends? Whether it's a work experience, whether it's a relationship like social. You got work, you've got social, you've got maybe some things in between, but just go and have fun. Life is too short not to have fun. And if you're not having fun, a lot of people talk bad about golf. Like they don't understand golf. They want to play golf. A lot of business deals are done on the golf course. And in fact, at one time, a number of years ago, I was talking to an exchange student from Japan, and they were telling me that golf is actually a required subject in college or in their education. You had to learn to play golf because business was done on the golf course. We think of business in America done in the boardroom. But what about the golf course? What about the basketball court? What about the bowling alley? What about the pool hall? Why are we so limited in how we do our things? But when it comes to whatever relationship you're working on, have fun, share experiences, lighthearted moments, not always being so serious, maybe being spontaneous, taking a work break. One of the jobs that I had when I was young, I was in my early 20s. In fact, I was 19, 20, and 21. I was working for an entertainment company. And a lot of times we went and did a lot of fun things for lunch. Now, it was a small company and the boss owned it. So we could do whatever we want. And I think I was the only full-time employee. And so there'd be times we go to lunch and we'd take off for 2 hours. Didn't really do anything crazy, but we go to lunch, have lunch for about an hour or so, and then maybe go look at, like, he was into cars, car enthusiast. So he got a lead on this car that he thought about maybe rebuilding, like an old 1930s, 40s car. We go look for cars. Then eventually he bought one. And then we'd spend a couple hours in the afternoon remodeling it. I got to actually recarpet an old 1930s vehicle. I didn't know what I was doing. I learned. And so again, we worked together, but we also had time to share experiences. And many years later, I remember that experience. So have fun together and live life. Live life to the fullest, because YOLO, only live once. And then I think one of the final things to talk about when it comes to this, so we are becoming a better person by increasing or improving upon our daily habits, building daily habits that help us build character. We're changing our mindset to a growth mindset. We're making sure relationships are being taken care of and we're having good relationships. And then finally, embracing discomfort. If you really want to grow, learn, and become a better person, expand your boundaries. Discomfort doesn't have to be painful, doesn't have to be negative discomfort. But if you're only used to going to lunch with a certain couple of people from work, Maybe you try going to lunch with somebody else. Maybe you try going to lunch with other people in other departments. You want discomfort? That's discomfort. Maybe you look at discomfort in a different way. You kind of reframe, reshape your perspective on discomfort. You see discomfort in a different light. Instead of it being a negative thing, it's a positive thing. And then maybe you start small and you ease into that. Okay, maybe I'll go to lunch with this one person from this other department. Or maybe I'm going to volunteer to do a Saturday at this organization once a month or once every 6 months, whatever it is. Whatever you do. One of the things that I try to do is get out of my comfort zone every once in a while. And one way I can do that is through substitute teaching. I don't like teaching or subbing at elementary schools for various reasons, but sometimes I will do it to get out of my comfort zone, to seek a new challenge, to try to expand my abilities. Sometimes it's even kindergarten. People look at me like, what are you doing here subbing kindergarten? Well, one, I do have the ability to do it. But yeah, so I do that in order to expand my abilities. And so you do something to get out of your comfort zone. And then while you're doing that, you're going to build a little bit resilience and maybe do it through repetition. Resilience grows over time. The more you expose yourself to discomfort, the more resilient you become. And really, the more discomfort that you experience, the less discomfort there is. They are no longer discomforting. It's now normal. Now you have to expand your zone even more. And there's long-term benefits to it. There's visual growth, like you can visualize yourself growing. I mean, think about a job. If you started at a job in a business somewhere, and let's just use the old adage, you started in the mailroom. We'll take The Secret of My Success if you ever saw that movie with Michael J. Fox. Let's say you started in the mailroom, and that's all you did. And that was the mentality of that movie, was like, you don't consort with suits because you're in the mailroom. You had to be in the mailroom, and you're in the mailroom forever. But then Michael J. Fox's character, throughout the plot of the movie, starts to take these challenges and starts doing these things, and some of it's uncomfortable. And eventually he becomes successful. And that was the secret to his success, right? But again, you're starting to do different things. You're starting to focus on long-term benefits. You're starting to focus on your growth. You're starting to focus on tolerance to uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. In the radio business, there was always uncertainty because layoffs were always coming. Layoffs were a regular part of every year around Christmas time. You were waiting for somebody to get laid off. And so you get kind of used to that. So first time you lose your job, it's like, oh man, it's a big deal. Third or fourth time you get laid off because of consolidation, because of budget cuts, because of whatever, no big deal. Go find something else because you get used to that discomfort. You get used to that being out of your comfort zone. And by doing that, you're seeking support through friends, through businesses, through other things that you have developed along the way. But again, it's one of those things that when we talk about growing and becoming better, we really don't talk about being outside our comfort zone. We really don't talk about the struggles of trying to expand ourselves. And by doing that, we have to be in a place where we're not comfortable with. You always talk about, there's always athletes and musicians and all the successful people talk about pushing the boundaries, pushing the envelope, trying something new, getting something that they haven't done before, investing money in an unknown area. I mean, that's probably the big thing. If you think about it with business, it's money and investing money in some area that's unknown, research and development, right? Maybe you have a limited budget and you got to research and develop something. It's unknown, scary. But then something big happens. A big development becomes successful. And there's other times where it doesn't, but you got to keep going. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get when you exercise and you're working out, right? The mind wants to give up, but there's more to you. So you got to push yourself more and more and more. And maybe the first time you're running 30 minutes, jogging 30 minutes or exercising 30 minutes, then you push yourself to 35, then 40, then 45, then 50, Pretty soon you're exercising an hour. You never thought you could get to 30, let alone an hour, but you keep pushing yourself, pushing yourself, pushing yourself. And that uncomfortable feeling in your body from working out now becomes comfortable because you pushed yourself. There's a thing out there with the Navy SEALs. Talk about discomfort, right? Buds, Navy SEALs and their BUDS, basic underwater demolition school, and everything they go through and all the discomfort. I mean, that's like 5 days, 5.5 days of pure hell. They call it Hell Week. You're always cold. You're always hungry. You're always tired, and you're always sore. But somewhere in there, there's a philosophy with the Navy SEALs or in the military about the 40-60. That when you're tired, exhausted, and out to the end of whatever it is that you're at, you still have 60% in you because you've only used 40% of your mind.
40% rule. Your mind is holding you back. Most people are living at only 40% of what they're truly capable of. Think about that for a second. 40%. That means there's a whole 60% of untapped potential just sitting there waiting for you to unlock it. What stops you? Your mind. It's like a car with a speed limiter. You see that speedometer hitting 130, but the car won't go past 91. Why? Because the factory set a limit. It's the same with your mind. When things get tough, uncomfortable, or scary, your brain says, nah, we're done here, and tries to pull you back into comfort. It's a survival mechanism. It wants to protect you from pain, from failure, from anything that feels uncomfortable. But here's the thing. You don't grow in comfort. Comfort is a killer of progress. The mind has this tactical advantage over you because it knows all your fears, all your insecurities. It's like having an opponent that knows your playbook inside and out. Every time you face a challenge, it whispers, back off, this is too much, take it easy. And what do most people do? They listen, they sit down, they quit. But here's where things change. You've got to understand that when your mind says stop, you're only at 40%. That's not your limit. That's just where your mind wants to quit. That's where you take over. When you start feeling that pain, that discomfort.
Comfort is the killer of progress. There was a poster in one of the businesses I worked at one time, and it said in 1899, the Copyright Office came out with a statement that said anything and everything that could be invented already has been in 1899. Could you imagine if you still had that same mentality today? We'd be living in the 1800s. We'd have no technology. We'd have nothing what we have today. Because back then they couldn't see what the future had and look at what's unfolded since 1899 and how wrong was the Copyright Office. But comfort is the killer of progress. So you have to get out there, get out of your comfort zone, and you have to expand yourself. Small steps. Do it a little bit at a time. So as you go through this, you're going to look at the different things. You're going to be with, first of all, I guess you got to set the logistics the way you want to fit in your lifestyle. But then if you do want to get better and become a better person for yourself, because again, we have greatness within us. We want to bring out our inner greatness. We want to raise the standard in our lives so that our inner greatness can come out, so that we can be a benefit to others. And then we can become successful. We can take our passion. We can make it happen. We can let ourselves be great. And then those around us look at us and be like, hey, if that person can do it, I can do it. And so they start doing it. And maybe they come to you and they ask you, what did you do? And you share with them. And you share with them the concepts and the things that you did to become a better person. And then they want to do that. And they raise the standards in their lives. And now their inner greatness comes out. Their passion is happening. And it's so on and so on and so on. And pretty soon your community, pretty soon your neighborhoods, everyone's raising the standard. It seems like society today wants to revert, lower the standards for academics, lower the standards for pretty much everything. We've seen it in the news. Lower the standards so that these people don't get offended. Lower the standards so that this can take place. Lower the standard for that. Instead of, hey, we should raise the standard. If we're raising the standard, what does that mean? Hard work for the rest of us. If you're educators, raise the standard. Yeah, it's going to require more work for you to teach and invest maybe in the student that isn't performing and trying to get those resources. But we don't want to do that because we get tired. We're not interested. It doesn't benefit us. So if we want to be a better person, we must first determine what better is for us, for you, for me. It's going to be different. It's going to be individualized depending upon our own definition and what we see our lives as. Then we're going to build those daily habits so that our character can get better, whether it's the morning routine of making the bed, setting 1 through 3 intentions, being kind, being nice, daily routines over and over and over, and then building upon them. Maybe it's stepping away from the digital world for a little bit and detoxing, setting boundaries with that. Maybe it's reading more so we can learn and grow and become better educated, expand our vocabulary, our communication, our imagination, exercise the brain more. We change our mindset from negative to positive, from victim to victor. We're going to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Instead of I can't, I can. Instead of I won't, I will. Put in effort. Maybe we chase perfectionism, even though we can't quite get there, but we're going to chase it. Not too worried about the perfectionist. We're going to work on getting better, continue to improve. When it comes to our relationships, we're going to become a better listener. We're going to own up to our mistakes in any of this, really. We're going to show up consistently, be there for them. We're going to have fun. We're going to have quality over quantity. We're going to make those relationships worth it. We're going to invest in it. And then we're going to get outside our comfort zone and we're going to grow. We're going to become better because, again, you've got comfort is the killer of progress. And we want to progress. We want to progress in our lives so that we can become better, so that we become better people. This is 2 Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion and make it happen. Let yourself be great. Check out our website, radiowarp.com. That's radio, W-A-R-P, radiowarp.com. You can click on the 2 Steps Ahead podcast logo. Our past shows pop up. There's also a banner across the center of the page where it clicks and takes you to our audio page. You can download, take those episodes with you on the go as well from the audio portion. The video portion is right there. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. We're on all social media platforms at 2 Steps Ahead Podcast with a TWO, 2 Steps Ahead Podcast. You can email the show, 2 Steps Ahead Podcast at gmail.com. That's 2 Steps Ahead Podcast at gmail.com. Or you can DM us on social media at 2 Steps Ahead Podcast, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and so on. So we're pretty much everywhere. You can listen anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, iHeartMedia. You can do an internet search of TWO, 2 Steps Ahead Podcast, and we pop up. Or, hey Siri, hey Google, hey Alexa, play TWO, 2 Steps Ahead Podcast, and our show pops up. So we're pretty easy to find. All you have to do is just type it in and boom, there we are. But radiowarp.com is probably the best place because there's some other things on there as well, some other podcasts that you might find interesting and you might like as well. So again, radiowarp.com, the place to be. Otherwise, we're pretty easy to find. And again, reach out. If there's no place else for you, or you think there's no one else available, or you're alone in the world, reach out, email 2 Steps Ahead Podcast at gmail.com or DM social media, and I'm there for you. So again, 2 Steps Ahead Podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Son Edom. Hey, thanks for listening. Do tell a friend. Until next time, God bless.